Bucket batteries, babe. Okay, sounds a bit like Jurassic Park here. He's a bit pissed off. Okay, so I thought I'd show you this because it is quite interesting. So this is the Aquamist controller. I don't know if it's going to be in focus or not with this bloody GoPro, but so yeah, so basically from the video, so we've got our IDC, which is an injector duty cycle light, so that's our signal. Threshold is what lights up when you're at the point where meth is being delivered, and then we've got 95% IDC, which is full duty on the injector, that lights up red. And then we've got our various inputs there, so adjust the threshold of when it comes in. PIR, this is for either injector signal, or we can go anti-clockwise and we can get a boost signal, because this controller we set to the boost pressure sensor or map sensor. And then gain is how much meth we're going to deliver to that signal. Then we've got all our jumper settings here, which is set up for however you want to set up the meth. So our trigger is injector duty cycle. If we did want to go boost, we'd go for MPS map signal. So anyway, what I've got to change here, because this runs off, well, this is designed the way it's set up to run from direct injectors, which a signal comes from this side. The cable comes in here. We've got a positive and a ground for that injector that we have to wire into the ECU. But like I said, the issue we're having is when it's getting full signal. I think because the impedance, we've got high impedance injectors, the Aquamist actually stops and thinks the signal that the injector is giving out, because basically on the direct injectors, it's probably easier to explain it this way. On the direct injectors, we have a positive from the ECU, and we have a ground, a switchable ground. So the ECU operates the ground, which opens the injector on and off, on and off, on and off. On the MPI injectors, the ground, so they have a positive and a ground. However, the ground's static. It doesn't go to the ECU. It basically grounds to well, the chassis, essentially. But obviously through the loom, it goes to a various ground link. So it's actually the positive that is giving the signal. So what we've got to do, I spoke to Rich from Aquamist. So we can run conventional injector, so a non-direct injector, through this loom. So there's a green signal wire on this loom. However, like most injectors, again, it's a switchable ground on the ECU that controls that. So what we've got to do, I'll just turn this over, or what I've already done, should I say. I'll have to switch this to see if I can actually get a good view of it. It's pretty hard with the GoPro, I must admit. Right, so I'm going to try and point this out. So basically, oh, lost me tweezers. So basically, here where we've got a PWM, so it's pulse width module. So we've got a plus and a negative here. So this was set up. There was a little circuit going from PWM to the plus. So I've removed that circuit, and what we've got to do now is solder to the negative. Because what we're doing is we're flipping the polarity around, flipping what signal this controller reads. So rather than the negative, which it would usually read, which as I said is most conventional injectors, we've got to set it up for MPI. So it's got to read the positive as a switch rather than the negative. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to basically flip the polarity around of what the PWM reads. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the GoPro down. I'm just going to solder the circuit board, solder the circuit. Oh, so hard to know if this is in focus or not. So we've basically got to solder the circuit to a negative, and then what that will allow us to do is we can use the ECU loom with a conventional injector feed. So rather than that green wire going to a negative for injector duty cycle, we're going to switch it so it goes to a positive and reads that as the injector duty cycle. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that should stop us locking out when we get into the high RPM. Anyway, let's get to it. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that. It's not my best soldering job, but you can just see this PWM signal. We're now on the negative, so hopefully we'll this will sort the issue. Anyway, let's find out. So yeah, getting there with the Cupra at the moment. So done a lot of research into the Aquamist, and we can actually turn the pump pressure up. So I've just turned it up a little notch. We've managed to get 660 brake horsepower. So fingers crossed we're gonna hit that 700 today. I think we're just doing another revision file. But yeah, she's doing well. Good results. Well, the throttle body's just died, so probably from the meth, so we're going to change it. Well, welcome back to the channel once again. More of an update on Chris's Monster Cupra. So, died on the dyno. It's alive now. Basically, it was just cutting out on the dyno. We had a throttle body issue. So we have had issues with the throttle body. Basically, Chris's stock duct that we had was fouling this plug here. So as the engine's moving with the acceleration, it just warned this, well, it was affecting this connector here. So I deepened this, put a new one on. All was fine. However, after a load of pulls on the dyno, car suddenly wouldn't tick over. Now we did have a code as soon as we pulled it on the dyno, and I'll show you why. So this is probably the original throttle body that was on the car. You just see this big crack here. Don't know if you can see that, but what I'll do is just accent that crack. So yeah, you can see quite a big crack. So obviously that would have been causing an implausible signal. So from where the position of the plenum is in relation to what the ECU is expecting. But yeah, so that's why it died. So anyway, we put a new one on. So interestingly,
we started off where we left it, which was, I mean, last time we got to 640 horsepower, and we weren't getting enough meth, so we're not going to let the car drive on the road on that, so we dialed it back to, I think it was 620. That's why there's confusing power figures in the last video. So it was 620 when we got it off. So we put 2 larger nozzles in, so he's now got 1100cc in his charge pipe, and straight away we went to jump back up to 640, then we got to 650, then we got to 660, and then yeah, the meth. So what happens with methanol, I'll try and explain this in the best way we can. So the more boost pressure we're getting in this pipe, it starts hindering the methanol delivery, because obviously there's pressure pushing it back. So imagine trying to spit into a well when there's loads of air coming up, basically spitting in your face. Same thing with the methanol delivery. Anyway, so a handy little thing on the Aquamist pump. So these are 160 psi out the box, as you can see there, but we can turn it up maximum 220 psi just through this little valve here. So on the dyno, when we got to 660, sorry, we realised we needed a bit more meth. We were just incrementally turning this pump up, so I think we're max on this pump now. And then yeah, we shot straight up to 726 horsepower, which a lot of people would say yeah, leave it there, which we don't intend to really go more than that, because we're just on pump fuel, we're just on methanol. However, we are maxed out on the injectors up top. So yeah, loads of people have thrown the weight around, saying we need to improve the fueling behind it, which we do. I'm not disputing that. We've got a Warbro 450 behind it, but the answer to our solution really is A, we need another nozzle, meth nozzle, which is what that charge pipe is. I'm just working on a 3-port methanol delivery in a charge pipe, which will take his charge pipe CC up to 1600 cc, which is going to be more than enough. Just don't forget, we're only using this methanol past 6,000 rpm. Obviously, because of the lag, there's no point setting our threshold any lower than that. So yeah, so we were running out of fuel up top, because we are primarily using the top injectors right at the top end, the 980 cc's. We've got 4 bar of rail pressure behind it, which, yeah, it's not ideal, you know, we do want more, but we're basically maxing out the injectors. So what we're going to do now is stick 1300 cc's back in. We're going to put a larger pump, in-tank pump in, and then someone suggested fuel lines, which he hasn't got stock fuel lines, so he runs 7.9 mil lines, which have been there since VRS. 7.9 millimeter. Can't really see it, but it's there, 7.9 mil. So obviously this is running off the tank stock line, which goes underneath to the fuel tank. But even if we do put a larger tank here, we've got this ethanol sensor, which is always going to be a bottleneck. We put an AN10, and we've still got a bottleneck here, but so we're going to do away with this. Someone has commented to put the low pressure line through there. We're not going to do that either, because we do know this is somewhat of a restriction, but we still want the ECU to have control of fuel regulation for both rails. So that's staying there. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So we've got to put I'm going to put a Bartec 590, which is essentially a 525 Hellcat pump, just rebranded. So we're going to put one of them in, sort his fuel lines out, because I mean the rub is not deteriorated, but you know it is fairly old. So we're going to change that, get our 1300s in, get our new charge pipe on with that extra methanol nozzle, and that'll be us. So we'll probably get it to about 730, and then Chris wants to keep it there, which is, I mean, do you need any more power than that? But just to show you, because people are going to say, you know, it's a lot of methanol in the nozzle. So we did 11 runs the other day, and that's how much methanol we've used on those runs. So we're not absolutely chinning it, because it's not like most builds where we're introducing the methanol at, you know, 11 psi and progressing it out. Still ill. But yeah, anyway, some good results, really good. I mean, it shot straight up as soon as we sorted the methanol delivery out. The Aquamist worked, the little trick I did with the Aquamist. So it is actually a really good bit of kit, the Aquamist. I mean, hats off to Richard, ERL, who makes and designs it. It is quite a complex system, but got to be happy with them results, haven't we? And if you look at the engine, bear in mind this has had fucking hell, at least 50 pulls on the dyno. You can still balance a cup of coffee on there. It's still nice and smooth. But anyway, she's ticking over again now, so it's happy days. So when are we back? As soon as we get these injectors, we're going to be back here. So yeah, so if you are new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps us massively. We have got well, I wouldn't say like a stale moment in the business at the moment. We've got to crack on with a lot of engines basically, so we're not going to regurgitate the same content. We have got a couple of gearbox conversions coming up as well, but obviously Chris is one we're concentrating on, so we should be finished in the next week or so, fingers crossed. But anyway, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.